now. Oh, I'm Margaret Jones. I worked there 32 years, just over. And I've done 17 years at Norfolk. No, I had an older brother what did do clipping once, but he only done it for about 3 years, that's all. My dad did, I think. He worked in the shoe factory when he was younger.
What did he do?
I ain't got a clue. They do have outings sometimes, but I ain't been on them. Only like when we have our works thing, we go on them. There was one boy I liked, he was an electrician, and one of the mechanics, he went and told him that I liked him, and I didn't like that.
Hi, my name is Raymond Carpenter. I worked in the shoe industry when I left school at 15, and apart from 1 year when I went into a chocolate factory, I've worked in the shoe industry ever since, and I'm 71 next month, so the maths of that are quite a lot more. I started in a factory called Norwich Shoes, which was part of a Howlett and White and Howlett group or something. Just happened to be walking past the factory. Didn't have any idea what I wanted to do. I just had a sign up, clickers wanted. So I walked in, presented myself, and I was saying, no, we need experienced clickers, but you can start in the making room. And it's easy as that, And relatively quickly, I got on piecework where you got paid a rate for how many you done, and so I was earning a lot of, relatively again, a lot of money, more than some people in trades. My future wife worked at Sexton's, another shoe factory, as a machinist. Her father worked at a company called Edwards and Holmes as a clicker. I think everybody knew in Norwich, almost knew somebody or had a relation what was connected with the industry, but my immediate family weren't, no. Yes, you get this sort of group of friends and you'd go out drinking as such, pubs and clubs and that kind of thing, and there was always, I think just about every factory had their own football team and crickets and bowls, and that was a bit of a family in that way. And there was a famous football league in the area called Businesses and Houses. That was all businesses and public houses had their own football team, and they'd compete together. But pretty much every factory had a team. Bally's and Startright and Shingler and Thetford, all the larger factories had a football team and a social club. I played for another team, which I played football, but not for the factory team. I did, towards the end of my sort of sporting career, play for Edwards and Holmes, which were called the Florida group. There was a Florida football team. I played for them for a short while, but there was actually a shoe trades cup. That was, so when you didn't meet in sort of league competition, you'd play for this cup, yeah. Well, that's just dissipated, hasn't it? We're both disappearing at a rate of knots, both factories and public houses. Yeah, taking part in darts competitions. Pool, I don't know one end of the queue for the other, so I never played that. But the opportunity was always there, and even now, as small as the social club is, they're always trying to put on, events for the factory and pub walks and bowls competitions still and things like that. And the social club used to do theatre outings. We'd all pop on the Charabanc, go down to London, see a show, and I remember seeing Sunset Boulevard and some of the bigger London shows, Phantom of the Opera and that type of thing, which actually triggered a real interest in theatre life for me, and I'm still quite a regular patron these days. So yeah.
Were there many romances on the factory floor?
maybe more than there should have been, yes, of course, but that's just life, isn't it? You know, I don't know if I'm still on camera, but I wouldn't call it a knock and chop. But, yeah, that is, you know, yeah. And of course, single people that meet, and yes, a lot of romance. But once the infrastructure has gone, it's so hard for companies with the best will in the world to keep going. When your heel suppliers go, and you know, you have to start searching for new suppliers, and they all come from abroad, and you lose that direct control. And in fact, I do a lot of shoes by hand still, because you're not working with a consistent material with leather. Some will stretch more than others, and you know, and depends what you get. Sometimes I find a better job making the shoe by hand. I'd rather put it in the machine, but if I think I can do it better by hand, that's what I'll do. And which, you know, I spoke briefly before, that is why we're under so much pressure, because very labour intensive. And
Jason Lowe. I have worked in the shoe industry for coming up to 29 years. Started off by cement and soles and just odd little jobs, and then I gradually worked my way up into making them. Yeah, like I say, there's only 10, 14 of us left in the making them, where before I remember when there used to be over 100, because a lot of stuff come in from abroad now. You can't compete. But luckily we make made in England shoes, but people still want. So that keep us going. Like I say, 20 years ago, making 10,000 pair a week in Norwich, now 1,300. We used to have a fishing club. We used to go there. We used to have a couple of lakes. We used to fish. Plenty of boozy trips and Christmas do's, and all good fun really. Yeah. Ale trails. They're just all round different pubs. Christmas do's. We used to, like, when we finished at Christmas, have a minibus pick us up, drop us off somewhere. And normally I was the last one standing, but yeah, they were good days. But that's gradually declined because you haven't got the workforce no more, and most of them are getting old now and can't handle it. So, used to finish reasonably early, but most of us were half cut before we even started in the mornings. We'd all come in with our bottles of Coke, that had other stuff in it. And then the supervisor would say, right, away you go, time to go. And the women would go around cutting all the supervisors and management's ties and stuff. Yeah. When I first started, when I was a youngster, if you were a youngster, you never went up in the women's room, because you'd come out of there with nothing on. Yeah, you're always warned, don't go up in the women's room at Christmas. So, I made a mistake once. Well, all it was I went in there to pick some work up, and I ended up coming out just in my boxer shorts, and that took me most of the day to find where all my clothes were. Where before, the whole bottom floor was just making, it was all the men. And then where you saw us working, that was a finishing room. You had about 30 women in there finishing, and all of the upstairs of the factory was all machinists, sewing all the uppers together and that.
So was it just women in the finishing bit then?
No, you had some men in there as well, but like I say, the main room you didn't go in, if you were a youngster, was the closing room upstairs. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, they used to like it when the youngsters got sent up there. But we used to have some great laughs with women in the summer. We used to have water fights out the front. Really good, yeah. But there was a lot more youngsters worked there then. I'd say when I started, there was 6 of us all my age, all started at Edwards and Ums when we left school. And there was only 2 of us who come up there when Edwards and Ums shut. And I met my wife in the shoe trade as well.
Did you? Oh, was that so? How did your romance happen then?
Well, that was when I left here, because obviously I started in '88. I left there in 2002 to go and make ballroom dancing shoes. And when I went there, obviously I didn't realise that was going to be my future wife. Started a couple of weeks after me. Just got chatting in the morning. She reckoned I was funny, and the next thing I knew, 10 months later we were married. There weren't no hanky-panky, it weren't nothing what happened on the factory floor, that was just... And it went, yeah, and I've been married, that was my anniversary last week, 12 years. And she's still in the shoe trade. She worked upstairs, Cat's Dancewear. Yeah, like I say, between us, we've got over 60 years experience, shoe trade. Yeah. My brother, he worked in shoe trade as well, he's a cutter. I can see it going full circle, like starting doing other stuff there as well. Like originally, everything was made in Norwich. And some of that is now starting to come back into it. Well, it'd be good, because I know some of them will retire there, well some of them are virtually past retirement, but I don't know whether I'll retire because I've still got 20-something years left. Be nice if I do, because I enjoy it.
My name's Derek Pieper. When I first started in the industry, I was trained as a B-grade utility, they used to call it, and you would learn all the jobs that weren't large machines. And then when someone left or an opportunity come, I went to an A-grade, they called it then, in which you learned all the machines. So yes, I worked 10 years in Lowestoft from 79 to 89, and then that factory was closed and I was transferred to the factory in Norwich, in Hall Road, and I served 10 years there until that closed permanently and moved away.
So that was Bally?
That was Bally Shoes, yeah. I'd say roughly 20 years I was there. Then I done a couple of years different jobs in security guard, and then after that two of the blokes I used to work here were having interviews here, and they told the manager at the time that I could do shoe. So they came round and I came up for an interview and got the job. But when I was in Lowestoft, you had the Bally Social Club, which done evenings, trips to Norwich, even abroad. I used to go to Amsterdam and places like that. And every year you'd have the Christmas dinner and dance. And that was good, yeah, because at the time that was when you were growing up, 16, 18, and you just went out and enjoyed it, nights out, which I think in them days your social life revolved around with your work mates anyway. So most of my people I used to go about with, I'd work with all day, then go out at the weekends and evenings and socialise with them. And it weren't until like the factory closed and we all got married that you lose track of each other. I still see one or two of them to this day. So my sister worked there until that was closed down in 99, that would have been. No, 89, wasn't it? 79 to 89, yeah. And she left, she never come to Norwich. My brother-in-law, he ran the closing room side, which they still kept in Lowestoft for a few years. And then he did come up to Norwich, and then he was made redundant, and he actually worked for these when they had a Galston factory. They used to have a small unit at Galston doing the upper side, making the uppers. What did it? Monday night was pool, Tuesday nights was darts, Friday nights was darts, Saturday nights was disco, and Sunday was still sat in a pub but doing nothing. I can always remember with my mum, I used to give her a housekeeping on the Friday, because in them days you always got cash, it was, your wage packet was cash. And by Sunday dinner I'd be borrowing it back off her.
Hello, my name's Maurice Killet. I have worked in the shoe trade about 44 years. Yes, I can do everything what's needed to make the shoe up. From the start, there's an inner sole attaching where they attach the insole to the last, and then from there they go into the making room to be made up with the uppers that are already made up. And starting job is back part moulding, where they're moulded, the seats are moulded to fit the last. Then they go on to the 4A, which pulls the toes in, and that fits around the last at the toe. Then the seat inside, which pulls the sides in and nails the seats in. And then on to roughing, which is give a roughing margin around the bottom of the shoe for the soles to stick onto. Then from there on to heel nailing, which attach the nails to the shoe itself, then into the clothing room to be finished off. And that's the shoe made up. We had a fishing club down, when I worked, before this Vandal, I worked at Edwards and Holmes, and we had a fishing club down there and used to go on trips every weekend, different rivers fishing, and that was like a competition to see who could win each week. And then that was off to a night out around Christmas time and that, drinks and everything down Yarmouth. Had a good time like that, yeah, and good social clubs. We used to go for a meal at Acle, a restaurant at Acle, then go on to Yarmouth for drinks and that, and nightclubs and that sort of thing, all harvest and have a good time. In the old days, I used to play pianos and have a sing-song down there, so yeah, that's good. Yes, my nan worked in it, my mother worked in it, and my uncles all worked in the trade down there. That's where I come straight from school into the trade, straight from the Dibden Road school into the factory, because I only lived up the road from it, about 100 yards up the road. That's how you got into it really, family straight in. There was a lot of jobs, but mainly there was a lot of shoe factories in them days, so that was the obvious thing. Like I say, my mother worked up in the office upstairs at Holmes's, my nan worked in the clothing room, so really that's the family tradition following into it. My nan used to work up the room and I used to work the other end of the room, yes, so yes, you knew people, everybody, you know, in the rooms.
So you couldn't get into trouble because your nan would be there.
Well, no, she kept out of the way, so didn't interfere, thank goodness. Well, as you notice now, there aren't many factories about, they've just got to be the best to compete. And that's as easy as that. We got best management, best workers, and that's the reason we're still going. Yeah, no, I won't keep going and going until I peg out in here, no.
Has anyone ever done that, just kept going?
No, but someone's on the verge of it, I think. I ain't got to mention no names. You'll work that one out when you come in here. Don't tell him I said that. Don't tell him.
Get the glue off when it's round the edges, you get right in and